Okay, Ankit, I think we can get started. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can get started. Thank you everyone for joining.
Awesome. Yeah, well, like Ankit said, thanks everyone for joining us today. So we're really excited to kind of cover a little bit about Comply AI today. Comply AI is our workflow's newest feature to really, cover some of the ways that you can simplify your compliance, automate some of those regulatory challenges that you face on a daily basis. But just to kind of quickly introduce myself, my name is Amanda. I'm the US sales consultant here at Artwork Flow. I'll allow Ankit to introduce himself.
Hello everyone. This is Ankit. I'm the CEO co-founder of Artwork Flow. And as Amanda said, today we're going to talk a little bit more deeply about how do you avoid product recalls, how Comply AI can help you automate some of those checks for regulatory compliance, and how does it become much more easier than it is today currently. So yeah, I'll let Amanda take it ahead.
Awesome. So, and just to kind of give you an outline of some of the things that we're going to be discussing today, some of those challenges around label compliance, we're actually going to give you a full live demo of Comply AI. We'll actually have a session for some Q&A. So if you have any questions as we're discussing, feel free to throw that in the chat. But yeah, Ankit, if you want to kind of kick it off and kind of walk us through what the modern compliance landscape looks like.
Absolutely, Amanda. And I think most of us on the call will agree that compliance has become much more complex in today's, in today's context. As more and more brands have come out, success does depend on how fast can you get product out in the market, how fast can you launch newer products, how fast can you gather market share. But in all of this, compliance becomes a really important factor because if your labels are not compliant, product recalls can be really, really expensive, and teams across the spectrum need to collaborate to maintain compliance. Marketing teams have their own compliance, legal teams have their own compliance, supply chain, quality, regulatory. All of the teams need to really come together to make sure that the label is compliant as it goes out to print and as it goes out to consumers. And the impact of some of these non-compliance can be really high on consumers, on safety standards, and there are processes in place. There are complex operating procedures in place, which sometimes becomes really, really difficult to follow. And that's where that complexity kicks in. And how do you ensure that despite all of this, you don't have any errors that are go out? That's where we're going to talk a little bit more about ComplyAI, but automation is the answer. Right? How do you automate some of these compliance rules while regulation can change? But how do you set those into your automation engine in a way that there isn't a human error while you're checking a label, while you're checking the label for compliance? And that's how the modern compliance landscape is changing. Like it's no longer about you don't have the luxury of a project running a year and then launching something. You need to be able to do it much faster. And in such an environment, the only thing that the brand has is to automate their process, is to go to a modern compliance stack, which is where I feel ComplyAI adds a lot of value. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about and what I feel is the modern compliance landscape now going ahead.
So, Ankit, one of the things that you said was that recalls can get really expensive. Do you want to take a guess, or maybe anyone wants to kind of throw it in the chat what their guess is on what the average recall could cost?
It'd be interesting to hear from the audience actually what they've heard, and I'm sure people on the call would have seen recalls. They would have maybe had one in their portfolio as well. If I would say it's unfortunate, but sometimes it does happen. What I've seen and what I've heard from our customers, they're in millions. They're not in thousands. The cost of a recall, sometimes there are hidden costs of recalls. It can be millions of dollars. And above that, there can be hidden costs of, brand going bad, hidden costs of supply chain, logistics, lots of these costs in there, which create a negative impact from the brand. But yeah, that's what I would say. I think Evelyn does the recall cost upwards of millions. I'll let Amanda talk about it. But my guess is also probably not a million, millions with an S is what I would definitely say.
Yeah, so definitely Evelyn and Ankit, pretty good guesses. So the average cost of a product recall is about $10 million. And then when you factor in some of those other elements and definitely what it does to your brand reputation, you're getting sometimes into that $100 million mark. Ankit, you've kind of been talking a lot about recalls on your LinkedIn lately. Are there any specific ones you'd like to highlight today?
Absolutely. And what we've been doing actually is studying the 800 plus recalls, FDA recalls in the last couple of years since 2017. We've also put together a report, and I think Amanda, you'll talk more about the report as we go ahead. But what we have seen and what we've observed, especially for food and bev companies, the top reason why a recall has happened, and this is the data point that we've collated in our report, and we'll give an early access as you go through. But the top reason is undeclared allergens. And that's something that is definitely preventable. That is definitely something that teams can check. But unfortunately, it is one of the top reasons why in food and bev industry, at least, a recall happens. And some of the recalls that we've seen, Hari Summers recalled over an undeclared sesame, sulfites in golden owls dried mangoes. Pharma is not far behind, right? We've had some recall in Zenzedi because of a mislabeled packaging errors. And what I feel is this can have far-reaching consequences. If these products were not recalled, they could have had far-reaching consequences of consumers' health, safety, lots of things which are not to be taken lightly. And that's what I feel that these can be prevented with automation, reducing human errors. Today, the way the proofing works, yeah, there are systems out there which help you proof. You can set up a workflow, you can put all your people in it, but the label will still come to a human person who will have a checklist. They will go through it manually, check it, make sure things are there. 99.9% of the times it'll be done right. But in this entire collaboration process, what gets missed, there can still be human errors. And what gets missed is it takes weeks to get it out there. With an automated platform, what you can do is reduce that time to seconds, but at the same time, make sure that there are no errors going out there because the process of checking is fully automated. And Amanda, I'll probably let you talk about the report that I was talking about before and what sort of insights you've seen while you were working with the team on the report.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the things that I've taken away from the report is that the food and beverage industry still remains, at the highest for the most frequent recalls. And it's exactly what you said, Ankit, in terms of it mainly being because of those undeclared allergens on their packaging. We're also seeing the drug industry have some significant increases year over year. They had a bit of a dip in 2023, but again, all due to, incorrect dosages on their packaging, missing information there. And what we're interested to see this year is with the new MOCR guidelines, how this is going to affect the cosmetic industry. It's going to be one of the first times that they have some of these regulations put on them, where they now need to declare fragrance allergens on their packaging that can open them up to these potential recalls. So definitely interested to kind of see that, and would love to hear from anyone kind of on the webinar today if you want to throw in the chat what some of the industries you guys are working in. Because, Ankit, I would also love for you to kind of walk us through what ComplyAI really is and how it can help some of our members here today.
Absolutely. I think, as Amanda said, it'll be, very, very helpful if some of the folks on the call can put on the industries they're from. As I go through the ComplyAI demo, it'll be good to focus on some of the industries that you want to see. But as I said, ComplyAI is a fully automated platform. And I want to maybe backtrack a little bit, like why ComplyAI? How did we end up here? Why did we even build a platform like ComplyAI, right? As we said, our workflow is a label management platform. But as we talked to our customers, what we realized is there is a manual way of checking the labels. And there is a way that today regulatory folks, legal, marketing, everybody comes together to set a checklist, set some of these rules in place manually. And then whenever a label comes to them, either through a system or manually, they will go through each one of the checklist and try to find, okay, this allergen is there. This is the nutrition facts table that I wanted to declare. This is how I want things to be. And there is a way to do it, but it is not 100% foolproof, right? It does take time. It does. There are still recalls. There are still errors that go through the system and go into production. That's what ComplyAI is for. What we built is an automated way for you to define those same checklists into the system so that nobody needs to manually check it. You can go track allergens, declare your missing info, declare any declarations that you want to make, and then with one click, check whether whatever you wanted the label to have, all of that is present or not. And what I'll do, I'll quickly check and tell you that I'll quickly show you an example. One from cosmetics industry, as Amanda talked about, cosmetics and regulation coming in, and food has always had allergens, declarations, lots of these things. Now cosmetics with Mukra has to declare their fragrance allergen as well. So I'll take a cosmetics example, and then I'll take a food and bev example. And in both the cases, show you a rule book that we've created and show you how that rule book can be run on an artwork and what does the check look like and what do the results really look like. So I'll quickly do that. Perfect. So I'll first go through the rule book, then I'll show you how this rule book can be applied on artwork, which is a cosmetics artwork, right? What do I mean by a rule book? Rule book are a set of automated rules that you can set up in the system. We can also help you set them up, and they're very easy to set up. You can do a spell check, you can do a grammar check, you can have positive words. Positive words really mean what are the words, ingredients, allergens, what do you want to make sure that your label contains. There are font rules. You can also maintain your brand guidelines. Sometimes there are compliances also for fonts, that this is the only font you can use. For example, pharma has a lot of these compliances. This is the size of font you can use. The pharma has a lot of those compliances as well. And then there is a logo match and an image match. So if you have a image declaration that you want to do, there is you can create a rule for that. You want to check for your logo, or you want to check any image declaration that you want to do, because not all declarations are text declarations. Sometimes there are image declarations as well, which you need to have on your label. Before I go ahead, I think Amanda has been researching a lot, talking to our customers around cosmetic regulations. I want her to jump in and talk a little bit about what a negative keyword would mean in the cosmetics context, so that the audience sort of understands how they can use it effectively.
Yeah, so as we continue to speak with a lot of cosmetic companies, what we're learning is, there are different ways that they have to use like their tone of voice. So for example, Ankit, like you can't actually say this prevents wrinkles, because then it becomes more on, I guess, like on a pharmaceutical level. But what you can say is this helps with anti-aging. So I think our negative keyword feature is going to come in, really handy here for some of those regulatory managers that have to now do this on a very manual basis. So maybe that's something that you can show everyone today.
No, makes perfect sense. I think another example that one of our team members also mentioned is, for example, if your bottle is plastic, you write that this packaging label, you can puncture it. But if it's glass, you have to change that word to break, right? And that could be a negative word that you can have on your packaging, saying that you don't want break, you want puncture. Some of these are examples of what a negative word can be. But let me run this entire rule book on this artwork directly and show you what it means. So on our platform, what it means is just load your artwork. With one click on ComplyAI, run your rulebook. This is the kind of results that you'll see. On top, a very clear indication, 0 errors, all the rules matched, right? Which definitely means you can go ahead, all the checks that you wanted to do are done. What do the checks really mean? For example, on this artwork, I can see honey is one of the ingredients I want to declare. And honey is present in 2 places. So if I click once, it'll show me where the honey is. If I click again, it'll show me what the other honey is, right? I can also check for some of these declarations from a chemical perspective, like phenoxyethanol is declared, right? And this needs to be declared in a cosmetics case if it is used in the fragrance. There are logos that I have matched. These are the 2 logos that I found. These are all the fonts which the platform found, and you had defined that the font should be greater than 10 pixels. So you can click and see which is used where, what is in this. And you can also see these declarations like made in the USA, which we want to have on the label. So you can directly detect it and make sure that it is present. You don't need to go over all of it, just to make sure that your errors are, what you found is correct. You can just double check. But otherwise, on the top, it's clear, everything matched, it's 0. You can actually approve this artwork and just go ahead, right? So it makes it really easy. It's not, you don't need to manually zoom, check whether all the things are present or not. Makes it easy for you to not have to manually miss if something you checked, but you missed while you were going through the label. All of those problems really go away. And the value proposition is clear. Much faster review, almost instantaneous, no errors, right? And this is a cosmetics use case. I also want to show a food use case, a food and bev use case, so that we are a little bit closer to, little bit closer to making sure that we have a clear idea in the food and bev case as well. And some of our customers in beverages industry also use our rule book to create the TDB compliance, right? You can create rules to make sure that you have everything that you need in a TDB compliance as well. But in this case, if you look at it, I've created a rule book with declarations like I want to make sure all natural is present. I want to make sure there are no preservatives. I want to make sure no artificial flavor, colors, net weight, salt is defined, made in the USA. There's a declaration that for other correspondence, including online orders, which visit the website. I want this to be on all labels. I put the two logos that I want to be present on the platform. There is a clear sort of a definition of GMO free that I wanted to be there. And this is an interesting thing that I created especially for the food use case. Right? Food, FDA requires you to have a nutrition table, but a nutrition table requires you to have ingredient list, right? Ingredient list as well as the nutrition facts table, right? So here I defined that I want the heading of nutrition facts, serving size to be declared, fat content should be 27.9 grams, saturated fatty acid should be 14.0 grams. Now we'll see when I run this at work, how does it look? And do we have all the checks running on that? So I'm going to show you sectional results first. So if I run the sectional results directly on just this nutrition facts table, I can see that there are 9 matches and 0 errors. So I can check that serving size 25 grams is present. Total fat 27.9 grams I actually found. Saturated fatty acids 14.0 grams is something that I found. So you can translate your ingredient list directly to the rule book and check that you have the right nutrition facts showing up, and it becomes pretty automated. If I was to run the result on the entire artwork, I can do that as well. I don't need to run it on just a particular section, right? All of that is possible. For example, here, let me just see, all natural declaration is present, no preservatives is present, recommended dietary allowance is present, let's say net weight is declared, you have your refined oil as an ingredient is defined. So everything that you need, it gives you a clear picture, 21 matches, 0 errors. Nothing that that you miss. And anything you feel on your label should be present is something that our platform can automatically check for you. Logos, images, text, anything of that sort is completely possible. You can also check for barcodes. You can check for spelling errors, put spelling errors, grammar errors, see those suggestions, and create a fully functional automated compliance, let's say a compliance engine for yourself or a compliance co-pilot for yourself. And if you want to add anything before we go back to our slides, but happy to. And if you have any questions around what I just showed, please feel free to put it in the Q&A. Be happy to answer more questions.
Yeah, well, it looks like Evelyn is here from the food and beverage industry, so hopefully she found that pretty helpful. But we do have a couple of questions, Ankit, if you want to tackle those already.
No, absolutely. I would be happy to. So yeah, I think I'll take Evelyn's question. Right now, we compare our artworks with an Excel sheet that we have. That's the question, right?
Yep. So right now she's comparing her ingredient list on Excel against their artwork PDF to verify their kcal info on each ingredient. So can we translate this to this AI tool also? And then Ankit, maybe here you can kind of give a little sneak peek of what we got on our product roadmap too.
Oh, absolutely. So Evelyn, I think you can create the ingredient lists right on our rulebook, but something that we have on our product roadmap will be much more interesting. So we're building a brief creator, right? So whatever ingredient list you have in your Excel, you can actually translate that directly, create all the brief on our platform itself. And the brief that you create on the platform will automatically generate some of these rule books. So when you start a project, you have your brief, that brief automatically translates to the rule book and automatically checks for all the ingredient list, anything that you put in your brief, so that you don't need to create rule books. So it becomes a very, very seamless process. So by end of April, that's something that is going to get incorporated in the product and will make the process much more simpler.
Awesome. And then we do have another question. Does this tool work right out of the box, or do we need to train the AI on our own data before it can give us the results?
So 99.9%, we've already trained the AI for some of these regulations like FDA, text, We've trained it on multiple artworks already. So 99% it works out of the box. Unless you have a very specific requirement or a regulation that only applies to a particular region or a particular product, which is very, very niche. In that case, you don't need to do anything. You can give us some of your artworks. We'll train the AI and make sure that all of your artworks get detected and have a very clear access from them.
Thanks, Ankit. And we have a few more. So when our needs evolve, can we update these rules on the go?
Absolutely. Our platform is built to be used yourself. You are not dependent on our team or anything else. The rules are there on the platform itself. You can anytime go change the rules, update them, add new rules. All of that is completely possible.
Awesome. And can we download the compliance check results and share? And then where do the assets get stored?
You can download the check results and share. Like that's something that we're building on our product roadmap as well. Like today, you can just take a screenshot, maybe share it that way on the platform itself. But all the assets get shared on our DAM itself on cloud. It's a very secure cloud. We follow all the security protocols, and you have the assets belong to you, right? So anytime you want to download the asset, take a dump of the assets, all of that is available on the platforms.
Awesome. And then another one. So is this only packaging related? So for context, their team handles global social channels and they have different review checklists for posts across countries and languages. Can they set rules for this too?
Absolutely. So this is not just specific to packaging. You can actually have images, social media images, anything, and set up brand compliance for your social media assets, different languages, different countries. Even if you give the input in a particular language, it will detect in that language. So if you have social media assets going to different parts of the world, if you have any assets that you want to run brand compliance on, all of that you can set up. We support all image formats, PDFs, any format that you can think of.
Got it. And here's a good one. So MOCRA is definitely a big deal for us too. How would you recommend prepping for it or using your tool to ensure compliance?
I think I definitely suggest that you start prepping for MOCRA with the rules set up on the system, so that when the labels come up to you, you're not struggling with sort of getting them approved at that time, figuring out what's the right rule set, what's the right guidance, and manually checking them at that stage. So today, make sure that you understand all the rules, set them up on the platform. Our teams can definitely help you set up the right workflow that you want for approval, and let ComplyAI automatically make that compliance seconds for you, so that you don't need to send it to 4 different teams. Like collect all their feedback and all their requirements today, create the rule book. When the label gets created, you just run that rule book. You don't send it to 4 or 5 or 10 different people in the team. If the rule book passes, you can just move ahead, right? So it makes it really easy and sort of a one-click process.
Awesome. So we'll wait another second just to see if anyone else has any other questions before we round out. All right, I think that is it for all the questions. But if we want to kind of just round this out, just to kind of summarize everything that we discussed today, like Ankit said in the beginning, we are our workflow. We are a label management software with those AI capabilities in there to be able to simplify your compliance process. As you can see here, we work with some really large global brands there, being able to help them help their regulatory managers. So if you would love to kind of learn a little bit more about our product, get a full-on demo for yourself, we're actually going to drop a link in the chat for you to book a demo. And then we can definitely curate that and make it a little bit more specific to your use case. But really excited to have this opportunity to meet with you guys today. Ankit, do you have any last words?
No, I think similar. Thanks a lot, Amanda, for the webinar, and thanks everyone for joining in and listening to us. I hope we were able to answer some questions and help you plan your regulatory journey a little better. As Amanda said, we'd be happy to set up a conversation, go deeper into any of your use cases, and show how to set up automation for your regulations coming up. But thank you so much for joining in today.
Awesome. Thanks, Ankit. Have a good one.
Thanks, Amanda. You too. Bye-bye.